exciting weekend again, man. It's the biggest race that we got in Canada for Superbike racing. You know, we're back here at CTMP Canadian Motorsport Park. We got some challenging conditions with the sky this morning. A lot of rain, a lot of fog, on and off. The racers are confused what they're doing for this race that's coming up here in a couple minutes, and should be a very exciting race day.
Starting off this afternoon here with the Pro Super Sport race. Obviously, it's going to be a big challenge for racers, as you mentioned. Possibly weather conditions are going to be a big thing, obviously, this afternoon. But tell us a little bit about this track as far as the difference from your back of the track to the front of the track. Weather conditions change.
Well, the place is gigantic, right? So it's huge, and you know you can be sunny and warm on the front straightaway with an absolute monsoon on the back straightaway. So the CSBK staff is making sure they're making the right safe decisions for the racers. Obviously, wanting to keep them upright as best as possible. So it sounds like for this race, they're going to be doing 2 warm-up laps and then a 14-lap race. So they're just shorten up the race a little bit so the guys can get a little extra trick, an extra look at the track before they go to the race.
Excellent. That's awesome. Building up the drivers here for a second. Very close behind there, but we'll see exactly what happens on later on our Superbike racing course. Super Sport racing will be out here this afternoon. You mentioned the 14 lap instead of 60. Shorten it up a little bit here this afternoon.
Michael Taylor has joined us here in the announcer's booth. And Michael, you'll be providing your expert commentary for both our Pro Super Sport and Pro Superbike race a little bit later on. You followed the championship. This is always a big one. The championship gets decided here, but not this year.
Hold your shot 7, good stuff. You can hear the bikes starting to up to get on track very, very soon. And hopefully we can hear these bikes whipping
ready
out
10,
the fastest
dissolve to 10.
By far for an average speed.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, the weather is going to be a little bit of an issue here. Maybe this nice cool breeze that comes across here, coming across the top of turn 5 back into the Bridgestone Canadian Tire Motorsport production trailer here. Hopefully everything works out for our best interest and all of the riders' best interest. It keeps a little bit of dry, but you were mentioning the patchy conditions out there, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's hot. It's very, very hot out right now, and it's extremely humid. So the track conditions will be very different than what the guys are riding on over the course of the last 2 days anyways, because the track is green now. The traction will be a little bit different. So
Whatever session you've been in last may not be what you're going to do. For the guys. I'm not sure if they're going to get a chance to do 2 of those, but it's important for them to find out where the wet patches is, are. 1 or 2 is often problematic because down the hill there you can find spots where it's a lot more hard, and it's pretty important to know what you've got to do, especially the first couple laps. And I think
down in 5.
Hopefully it'll be done on November 17th. number 9, Cassis had gone through with the lead, had completed lap 8, just starting lap 9, but the rest of the field, for the most part, has not completed the halfway distance. Yeah, Frank, Sylvia, Frank's in a bit of a dead spot. I think I found a spot again here where we can work. But yeah, Maverick just gave it a little too much gas out of the corner there. And
hopefully Cleveland's back up and running again as the rest of the riders come back here to this paddock, mentally regroup, and then possibly strategize.
It's wild, right? Like that whole thing was wild with all the crashes that happened in the rain. And these guys will have to kind of think about what they're going to do. Who knows if the series is going to restart it. There's only 6 laps to go. They got more than halfway through, so usually when they got more than halfway through, they can call the race. So they'll have to do a regroup on this. Hopefully Maverick Sears okay after that eyesight. Obviously, we got to see him pick up his bike and push it back. Matt Simpson was back on his bike, trying to get it riding. It looked like we had Mac Wheel off in the back and Nathan Playford off in the back. So these unfortunate wet conditions of what happens at Mossburn with the rain kind of in one corner and not the other corner. Some days just can't react fast enough to it.
Unfortunately, the rain was a great equalizer. You never know if it's going to be the fast one, the rain, and it's fast one, the dry. So obviously on slick tires, no one's going to be their optimal riding conditioning on slick tires, especially.
What's your load, Andrew? I'm at pit in turn 10. Understood. Okay, we got 7 bike that went down during this. We got 1-7 through 1 more class, 7-9 at 5. Another bike at 5 that continues, no number yet. And 1 over 4 at 9. And another bike. Yeah, we already called the blower. The blower's coming. Awesome, thank you.
Be able to figure out what's going to be happening with the race here soon. I'm sure we'll hear some announcements if they're going to pick this back up or not. But there's definitely a lot of work to be done by each one of those guys.
Absolutely, they're going to keep working. They're going to keep on to make sure that the winner is going to be. So it'll be interesting to see that.
Yeah, and what we saw too, right from the beginning of the race, right through the end of the beginning of the race. I don't know what happened to Thomas. I've not seen him do that before, but it just looked like he didn't get the bike into gear. It looked like Nathan Playfair stalled the bike off the launch. Really bizarre launch and start to the weekend here. Probably, just a lot of confusion after doing 2 warm-up laps and getting that going. And maybe they thought there wasn't going to be another warm-up lap. I don't really know exactly what happened there, but definitely weird, and I'm sure a mistake that Thomas is going to be upset about. But at the same time, he put himself right back up in the first place.
Absolutely, he didn't have the best start obviously that he wanted to. But it looks like he didn't take too much time to get back up into the top 2, top 3, and then headed into the front 5 at least to make sure that he was entertaining enough to make sure that they knew he was there, and obviously they knew he was there.
Yeah, when he was there, he made his way through, and we'll let these guys figure out what we're going to be doing with the next plan, and hopefully the guys get everything ready to go.
Excellent. Well, we'll see what happens here. We're going to go to a quick break here. We'll be right back here from the Supersport race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Go the distance on the Bridgestone Ultra Weather tire Engineered with our advanced Peak Life polymer compound for long-lasting wear resistance. Backed by a 100,000-kilometer limited mileage warranty.
Hi, I'm Jerry Ordanis, president of GP Bikes. Our goal is to make GP Bikes your one-stop shop for all your power sports needs. We offer a wide range of premium brands, including Ducati, BMW, Triumph, and Indian motorcycles. Plus, we offer a full parts and service department. From off-road to ATV to side-by-side and e-bikes, we've got it all.
We ride so you can ride.
Hey, Stacy, welcome back.
Thanks, Andrew.
We're back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park after a wickedly wild and very unique pro supersport race.
Yeah, that was crazy. Honestly, we've had the worst weather here today. Waking up, you can't see 10 feet in front of you with the fog. That lifts. Rain comes, goes away, and then comes back.
And then the race on track, obviously we saw crazy starts, weird race with patches everywhere, guys crashing, getting up, then ultimately a red flag, which then gave Thomas Kazas the win. He moves forward. Tremblay gets second place like we've seen all year. Basically those guys first and second. And now we'll get set up for the amateur supersport race.
Yeah, hopefully they'll have a little bit of better weather for this. Mixed conditions is never fun, but thankfully all the riders that did go down are okay.
Yeah, and we finally got the bikes back on track now after the big cleanup there from the Pro Supersport race. And let's take a look quickly here at the EBC Brakes Amateur Supersport starting grid. Starting in first place right there on camera is Bailey Ives on his GSXR 750.
Yeah, number 6. Bailey's been doing great this year.
And then in second place, a great qualifying effort from Nolan Eady. And then in third place, the current championship leader in amateur supersport is Alexis Baudouin.
Yeah, 5-point lead over Bailey.
And in fourth place, I think first time in Supersport you were mentioning for Lachlan Alexander, so a wicked result for Lachlan as well.
Yes, so Lachlan, our current lightweight champion, has moved up. He's taken Cole's old 600 and he's making his debut up on a bigger bike.
Well, it's exciting for the family and exciting for him, and I'm sure the edge will be going to see how this race goes. And going through fifth place is Jeremy Lazure, and then sixth place is Corey James Campbell. Seventh place on the start of the third row is Guy Grandbois, and then Yannick Rouleau. Jason Jones in ninth place, Alexander Ray in 10th, Doug Newman in 11th, and Paul Roseman in 12th, with the fifth row kicking off to Claude Saint Laurent and Julia Kranz, who Julia had a little bit of a penalty, kind of got moved to the back of the grid, and she'll look to make that up in the race here as these folks look around on the track to just understand, is this still wet? Is it still damp? After seeing and hearing what just recently happened in the Pro Supersport race, the track looks a lot drier, compared to what I just saw. We got some sun now, we got a little bit of wind, so the track should hopefully dry up here quick enough, as long as we don't get any more rain clouds like we just had.
Who knows? This is the thing with the racetrack, right? They have their own weather systems.
Especially this track is so weird with some of the mountains and the valleys that come around. So the weather changes here on a drop. You hear a lot of other places like that out in Atlantic Canada and stuff here. But this is definitely an odd one. But this should set up a pretty good race here. I think Alexis Baudouin starting in third place there on our left screen that you're looking right now is going to be thinking about the championship. It's a tight battle. So I expect to see some pretty good fireworks in this race as these guys have been excited. They've been here already riding for 2 full days, and we'll get this going.
We've got a rider at the back signaling. Hopefully everything's okay.
And
but right at the back of the grid.
Yeah, right at the back grid is as Julia just kind of picking up her last grid spot here. I think she's the last rider to kind of go around, and once she's in place, the marshal with the flag will walk off and should be able to get this going. All right, here we go. So lights are on, and the KD power lights are off, and Bailey Ives, wicked start for Bailey Ives.
Excellent. He should get that whole shot down into 1. Very nice. He's down into 4th, but I don't know. He's got good pace around here. He's crafty. He'll be able to get back up quick.
You could definitely see through turn 1 there. Looked a little hesitant, not really knee on the ground right away, just feeling out the conditions. So maybe from where our chair is, it's a little bit different than what it feels like on the track. But Bailey's probably a little bit used to driving it or racing in damp conditions coming up from Atlantic Motorsport Park, where they run under everything that they get over there. I think they'd probably race in the snow if they could.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of these amateur riders haven't had a ton of experience in the wet. We've been very lucky this season to not have a ton of wet races. So this might be a first for some of them.
Well, especially in a condition where it's not just wet, it's actually wet and dry, and it's got patches that maybe you don't see when it's traveling around at such high speed. But Bailey's got a pretty good gap here to kick off the lap 1 down the back straightaway. And we'll see what these different bikes have for power all the way down as they're shifting through 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Probably getting into 5th gear around here as they just click it into 6th as they whip by our camera as they go into the final turn 8 here, which is an insanely high speed corner as you remember very well as well when you were racing. And
hey, you too.
well, yeah, I remember it. Looks like is that Jeremy Lazure that's sitting in 2nd place?
27.
No, that's Corey James Campbell actually on 127 on the Triumph actually.
Excellent.
In 2nd place. So he's feeling comfortable with the track conditions as well right now of whatever's there. And I think having a person to be able to chase like he does and chasing Bailey will give him the guide and the benchmark of, how fast can I really go? Well, if Bailey's doing it, so can I.
Exactly. As much as we like to be out in the lead to run our own race, sometimes in these weird conditions, it's nice to not be the guinea pig.
Well, 100%. I don't like being a guinea pig for sure. But, also Bailey probably is comfortable with it. Saw some pretty good laps in the warm-up laps as well as, maybe Corey's going to be looking for, hey, where do I pass this guy? Maybe is my bike faster or slower? It looks like he's getting a great drive coming out of turn 3. He's going up the inside of Bailey. But it's a hard section to pass, right? Bailey might have a little bit faster bike as we go through the very fast high-speed corner. 4th gear pretty much wide open all the way down, and then 2 quick downshifts as they rise their way back up into Moss's corner.
And Jeremy is right there in 3rd. This is excellent for his hunt. He's 1 point behind Julia in 4th, so he should be able to make his way up into 3rd for the championship with this.
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep my eye on Alexi Baudouin, who's sitting back in 4th place as well. This could, with the way that this is currently sitting right now, this would actually put Bailey back in the lead of the championship if this is going. So Alexi's going to be thinking about that as well as he's sitting in 4th, as the top 3 guys have now pulled a pretty strong gap over top of 4th and 5th place. And Jeremy Lazure that you see, number 27 on the white GSXR, he's actually teammates with Sebastian Tremblay, who just finished 2nd. So he probably got some tips. Hey, here, go and do this. This is what the track feels like. Go and have some fun. And Bailey just seems to be very, very comfortable here out front. And the first laps by for these guys are coming soon, running at basically the same pace as what the pros were running in the race before at 1:30, which is almost identical to what some of these guys had actually qualified. Like Corey Joseph just did 1:30.8, and he actually qualified 1:30.5. So the track for these guys must be clear enough now that they feel comfortable to put in the same lap times.
Yeah.
Except for Bailey, he's off a little bit after qualifying at a 28.1. So he's about 2 or 3 seconds off his pace, but the other guys say, hey, no, this is clear track. Let's get rocking.
We got 10 laps to go. Bailey will put his head down. He knows what he's doing. He's very experienced with racing, and it's interesting to watch these guys down the back straight as well. With the pros, you'll see them really capitalize on the drafting, and the amateurs don't quite seem to have that figured out yet.
Well, you'll see some as they come down the back straight over here, some going way to the right, way to the left, not sure where they want to go. But, hey, that's all part of the learning process. We've all gone through that learning process. Right in the middle of the track here, maybe is that the most ideal? Probably not, right? Shoot the thing over to the right-hand side, but you're giving yourself a bigger draft, a bigger bubble. See arms kind of sticking out and elbows out, but that's part of the learning experience here. And at the end of the day, I don't think they care. They're just racing. I see the guy in front of me. Let's go catch him as Corey's doing his best to stay there, and as is Jeremy as well. Bailey's put in a pretty good last section here. He pulled a bit more of a gap than where they were looking like going into Moss's. So either his bike's faster or he's feeling good off the back straightaway.
That's a huge, so normally into 10 there is a great overtaking pass, and it's a huge damp spot on the inside there. So I wonder how much that leads across the track too. For us, this looks like it's a pretty dry track now in the line, but again, it might look a little bit different from the rider's point of view.
Well, and definitely you can see in certain areas there's different patches all around the track, right? And you can't tell sometimes where those patches are because the track has those patches and they're different sealers from the cars that break it up, or is it actually wet, damp rain patches that have come across the track as well? As it looks like we've got
Nolan's caught back up.
Yeah, it looks like Nolan made a pretty quick pass there on Jeremy after going about 4 or 5 tenths faster on that lap, Nolan, than Jeremy did. It's as Bailey Eyes takes a look back to understand, hey, do I got a big gap or not a big gap? And I don't know if I would have done it there. That's it's a fast section to turn and take a look back, but he's looking pretty good and comfortable now. His last lap time at a 29.7, so Bailey obviously picked up the lap time there, and he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable as well. I think he's taking a look back to try to understand where Alexi Baudouin is, who is now, he's all the way back in 5th place already, almost 3 seconds behind.
Yeah, and again, that's a strategy, right? If you've lost that draft, you can't catch back up. 5 points. There's not too many. He can still make this up tomorrow. So you got to think smart in terms of the championship, right? It's not just about today's race.
Well, and this makes a huge swing in the championship points where Bailey was behind by 5 coming into this. This is going to put him ahead by 8 or 9 as it looks like Nolan was just about to take a look up on the inside of Jeremy. He's setting him up on the outside, a dive bomb on the inside in the last corner. Great setup, great pass, Nolan.
It's great to see Nolan back. We haven't seen him in a couple of years. I was talking to him yesterday, and he was saying to me, I'm not sure how it'll work out. I'm just happy to be here. New tires to try. So he's doing pretty awesome for coming out and not knowing.
For sure. And I'm just looking at the lap times here, and it looks like they did some low 29s that time, which basically puts them right in the normal race pace and what they had qualified for. But the one that's shocking to me actually is Alexi Baudouin doing 1:32 on that lap. I'm wondering if maybe he went out on rain tires and didn't really have time to change it. You know, we'll have to dig into that after the race here, but Bailey's just kind of walking away with what he was doing. He had the pace, right? In qualifying, Bailey was over a second faster than second place, so he kind of knew that he had the pace to kind of control this race. Now that the cobwebs are out, he understands where the damp patches are and that are going away rapidly. He's able to kind of run his own pace in his own race as it's now the other guy's job to catch up to him.
Yeah, Nolan looks like he's putting his head down too to try to catch back up to Corey on 127. So I think we're going to have a really good battle here in the last two spots for the podium. Jay Lozon's right there with him too.
Yeah,
sorry.
And it is nice to see that, you know, from my perspective, you got three different manufacturers in the top three, right? You got Suzuki, Yamaha, and Triumph running through these things. A lot of diversity, a lot of different skill sets. You could see where some guys are more comfortable on different types of bikes as well. And
oh, Nolan is up in the second.
yeah, Nolan's made the pass on Corey up into second place. So he's pushing hard here as Bailey just clicks off a minute 28.5 and Nolan a minute 28.7. So
excellent.
I'm sure Nolan's looking at it saying, man, I wish I was just a little bit closer to Bailey because he's running the same lap pace with him, you know, 0.2 of a second. Actually was 1/10 of a second faster that last lap. So that is quite a bit faster than what Nolan Eady even did in qualifying as well, where Nolan had done a 29.1 and now he's done a 28.7. So that's a great improvement for him. Maybe he made some changes overnight, but obviously the urge in the race to want to go faster, it's there for him.
And Bailey is right there. He is in his sights. Now for us, this looks huge, but when you're on the bike, sometimes it doesn't look as big as this.
Well, when the track is so big and so fast, while the big gaps look big on TV, on the track they don't look that big like you're mentioning. So doesn't mean it's easy to close up that gap either, right? You just got to pick away at it corner by corner, you know, on the entry a little bit, through the corner, on the exit. Oh, as he runs real wide onto the back straightaway, rumbling over the curbs, probably have to shut off a little bit there because we know the curbs are going to be wet after like that, and they're definitely slippery in the paint. So good save for him as he goes, oh my God, let's keep this going. He's keeping his head down. He's going to try to keep the pressure on Bailey, but for sure try to keep the gap that he's able to been building on Corey in third place.
Yeah, that cost him quite a bit. Losing that drive onto the back straight is probably the worst place you could do it. But he's up, he's running. Maybe we've got Corey back in the fight here for second. We'll see what Nolan can straighten out and do. But I think Bailey's now got a pretty comfortable lead, so he just needs to keep riding his race, keep his head down, keep it comfortable, don't push it too crazy. You know, Bailey has this. He knows how to ride a smart ride.
Yeah, he definitely looks comfortable. He's been riding for a long time over in Atlanta Motorsport Park, and he understands how to kind of lead these races. He's been doing it all year through our championship here in the Amateur Super Sport Championship, and definitely you could see that when Nolan's mistake was there, it was over a second slower than what Bailey had done in the last lap. So that little mistake that he made going through 5B, running a bit wide, sent him a little bit further back. So this will shape up for a good battle into second place. As actually there's more and more gaps, so there must have been another mistake there again from Corey, which just comes down to the consistency, right? You see that a lot in the amateur riding. They're not always banging out lap after lap, you know, within a 1 or 2 tenths of themselves. Sometimes, hey, it's a second difference, and that's what amateur racing's all about. You know, gritting your teeth and just learning, right? Learning and understanding how you can try to make yourself better, be more consistent. As watching World Superbike, MotoGP, those guys are just consistent, and that's where these guys got to learn that from.
Yes. Plus racecraft, right? Until you're in it, you don't know. Oh, here's the lap times here.
Yeah, so those, what we're looking at there on the screen will be the lap times that they did the last lap time and the last lap by. So Bailey Ives with that 28.3, which is only 2 tenths off of what he actually set pole position on, where he had done a 28.1. So track's good, he's riding good, he's comfortable, knows the pace that he's going on, and Nolan Eady, the lap before, he had made the mistake, which allowed, and Nolan, pulled a big gap as he actually just ran the fastest lap that he's done all race at a 28.4, which matched Bailey Ives' lap time. So Nolan is going to try to figure this out for sure for the race with 5 laps to go, and understand what he needs to maybe do tomorrow, which is going to be, likely get a better start. Maybe not let Bailey walk away with it so early in the race, because they're doing the same lap times as long as there's no more mistakes.
Yeah. Bailey actually pulled a 128.1 in qualifying yesterday, so there's a little bit more in there for him. But if he doesn't need to dig down and get it, he's running a really good race right now.
Yeah, and you can just see the guys using different amount of track on the exited corners. Some going way out to the curb, some staying in the middle. And I think that just kind of comes with practice and experience. And who knows, maybe some of these guys are going to go back and watch the live feed that we're doing right now to say, hey, maybe I can change up my line here or there, because they probably never really thought about it or saw where they're going with this. And
you know, I'd say, hey, let's get into the tuck. You know, you see his elbows out a little bit more. Giving up 1 or 2 tenths just on the back straightaway make a big difference. And he's, you know, he's looking a little wide as we finally see some sunshine on the back straightaway, which is always a nice feeling here around Mosport.
Especially as a rider, you see the sun come out in the visor, you go, okay, the track is definitely drying now. Maybe we get some heat into the track too?
Yeah, well, it's hot already. It's humid, so I'm sure that the track is already up to temperature. But you know, maybe the tires a little bit more, and for sure they just get that little bit of extra confidence knowing that the sun is out, the track is definitely dry. Let's rock. So this is a dry race now at this point with 4 laps to go. As Bailey just actually broke his pole time at a 27.6. So
excellent.
That's
well done.
Excellent lap time for Bailey. So he's not just sitting around ready to just take this win. He is pushing hard and going fast here. So Bailey's looking great out front, as he should. You know, he's comfortable with it. He's still also going to be racing later today in the amateur Superbike, sorry. So he's wanting to test how fast he's going to be able to go in that race against the bigger, you know, Superbikes to see if he's going to be able to keep up with them. But an excellent lap time for him.
So this might be a little bit out of pocket, but I do want to call back to Lachlan Alexander. Not only is this his first race on that 600, what a first race to come out here in a national race to do it. It's in very confusing conditions, mixed weather, changing track, and he's running in a very comfortable 6th right now. He went a little bit faster yesterday in qualifying, but I gotta say, these Alexander boys, they're doing so well.
Well, there's something there for sure, and obviously doing your first race on a big bike at this track is not an easy feat because it's so demanding, because it's so high speed. It's a bit of a shock to the system of how fast this is compared to them riding at their normal track, right? If you had done this, I say at Grand Bend or something, you'd be a lot more comfortable. But Lachlan Alexander and his brother Cole, who's, you know, front-running pro guy, obviously the family's doing something right and they're learning very, very well. So, you know, great work for Lachlan in his first ride up into 6th place.
Julia's also worked her way up to 8th, so that'll help a little bit with the points for that battle for 3rd with her and Jeremy, who is running in 4th. But I think Jeremy's going to inch ahead too and get into the 3rd title, like the points position.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Bailey here again, another 27.6. So back-to-back 27.6. You know, that's the consistency I was mentioning earlier, that he has the consistency. He's doing fast lap times at 27.6, 27.6, back-to-back, feeling comfortable, maybe pushing himself a little bit more. He's locked in and, you know, probably come off the track and think about, hey, what kind of changes do I need to do for this afternoon's race and then definitely for tomorrow, as he's got his eyes set on trying to win this championship, as Alexi Beaudoin just put in his fastest lap as well, now 16 seconds behind the leader, but at a 29.7 for Alexi Beaudoin, who is his direct competition in this championship.
As you said, maybe Alexi made some changes to the bike, changes to the suspension for those mixed weather conditions, and then with it drying up, it's just not as comfortable as it was yesterday in qualifying when it was fully dry.
Yeah, and I'm just watching Bailey here. He's doing great. We come up to a first lap rider of the race for him. You know, just kind of walked around that pretty simply off the back straightaway. Good job by Doug Newman pulling over on the side to not really impede Bailey, but Bailey's just looking smooth, cool, and collected. He's got a lot of great supporters around him. Gary McKinnon, obviously a long time veteran pro, understands how to run a team, what to look for on the bike, and Bailey's been learning, you know, for a long time. I've known Bailey for a long time myself, as have you, through our times going out to Atlantic Motorsport Park with all the great hospitality that we get out there. And you know, Bailey's looking very, very comfortable in this race. He understands. I'm sure he's got a pit board that he's got nearly an 8-second gap, and he's still clicking off another 27.7. So this seems to be his sweet spot here in these mid to upper 27s. As now Alexi Beaudoin just put in another one of his fast lap again at a 29.2.
So here's a question for you, because I hear this quite a bit. You have a really comfortable lead like Bailey, people complaining to their team, why don't you tell them to slow down? Because Bailey's just putting out faster and faster laps. What do you feel your preference is as a rider when you have a comfortable lead like that?
Well,
letting off?
You're comfortable, right? So like sometimes you get really distracted. If you slow down a little bit and you get distracted, you start looking at the birds and the fans, then you crash, right? And I think once you're focused and it just becomes a routine and you're comfortable at that speed, then keep doing it all the way to the very end. For the most part, you can do that. Maybe the last lap, you know, you can kind of back off a bit, but you don't want to lose concentration. Keep yourself focused and keep putting in those laps, lap after lap, and that'll allow you to keep focused for a much longer period of the race, and honestly, for much longer longevity in your career as well. It's just, hey, I want to be a pro. I got to put in those laps start to finish, lap after lap.
Yeah. And as you said, sometimes as a rider, it's actually easier to keep going for those fast times and keep pushing.
Yeah, and for sure. And when you come up to things like Bailey just went through, right? When you go up to lap traffic, and if he wasn't going as hard as he would, maybe something would have checked him up a little bit different because he wasn't focused as much. And he was definitely focused. As you know, we're on the last lap here, right? And he wanted to make sure he got by him smooth, so he's still pushing the last lap at a 27.9. So this is, like I said, his comfort zone, letting the bike run wide, you know, thinking about, okay, bring this thing home, going down into turn 4, fourth gear, ride this thing through the corner, hard down the hill as we got a crash. Where do we got that crash?
That's turn 3.
Turn 5, coming into 5A, it looks like.
I think it was Alexi, our current title championship leader, because I did notice that Lachlan had passed him.
Oh, yeah.
And
Alexi Baudouin is definitely back. So that looks like it was Alexi Baudouin, which has huge ramifications towards the championship. As now Bailey Eyes probably would have seen him there in 5A going down, as we only got 2 corners left to go here as Bailey works his way through turn 8, sets up for the left-hander into turn 9. A quick flip over into turn number 10 as he's going to be bringing this thing home for his win, his very well-deserved win.
Very well. The team will be so happy with that. So will Bailey. Bailey is always happy to be out and racing. If he finishes on 2 wheels, that kid is smiling all through the pits. That was a very, very well-deserved win.
Unbelievable for Bailey. Great news for him. Huge difference in the championship, as it looks like Nolan Eady comes home in 2nd place. And then Corey Joseph finishing in 3rd place and Jeremy Lazur in 4th place, which is actually going to promote Lachlan Alexander up into 5th place for his first amateur Supersport ride of the year, coming up from the lightweight Supersport Championship. So looking at Bailey here, you know, like you had mentioned, the guy is always smiling. He's happy to be around the paddock. He's happy to be racing bikes. I watch him with fans signing autographs, and he's just got a smile. He's such a great ambassador for the sport, and he does such a great job with the team around him, and you know, the likes of Darren Marshall, who was, you know, top guy. So wicked opportunity here for him, and unbelievable job for Bailey in that race, and they did a fantastic job.
Yes. So taking over the championship lead, he will be so happy with that. We have 1 more race to go. If he can repeat that for today, no notes in my opinion.
Well, that's the thing, right? So it's copy paste hopefully for tomorrow for him, but who knows? Alexi's going to do a lot of work tomorrow. He's going to hope for more dry setup. I gotta believe he was out there on rain tires. You're just unable to change them quick enough, because his lap times were way off of what he did in qualifying yesterday as well. So yesterday this will bring something new for them. We've got great weather upon us for tomorrow is what it looks like. So who knows what'll change, but this will certainly change the dynamic of what Bailey's going to be going into thinking for tomorrow. As you see him going around waving to the fans and just ecstatic. He's excited. He's pumped. He's jumping around. You know, excellent for him.
And I believe with these results as well, Jeremy Lazur will be up into 3rd.
Well, I'm not a mathematician.
He was 1 point behind,
okay,
so I'm gonna go yes.
Yeah, then that's, you know what, you nailed it. He probably is, as Bailey takes the checkered flag here, sticks it into his boot after a nice little wheelie. He's pumped and fired up and carry this around proudly. I think a lot of the things that a lot of people don't know, if you have
solid wheelie, Bailey.
Beautiful. If you've never had a chance to be here as a fan or as a spectator, this is the echelon of Superbike racing in Canada, right? So when you win here, it's like guys in the U.S. winning the Daytona 200. Yeah. There's nothing more important than winning here. It doesn't matter what class it is. This is the big one that everybody's kind of been looking for. So he'll happily wave that checkered flag to, you know, the fans there at the top of turn 2. It's always a packed house in top of turn 2. As you go through exit here of 2 and then into 3 and 4. We know there's fans there, and this is the one that you want to win on the calendar. I think at the start of the year or through the winter when everybody goes, what race would I like to win in Canada? It's going to be Mosport.
I don't know, man. I think it depends on what your favorite track is. I took a lot of pride in winning at Shuby.
Well, valid, right? Shuby is kind of its own thing, right? Everybody likes to run there because it's just such a different type of demanding track. But in terms of the overall spectator here, right? You know, 20 to 30,000 fans here through the course of the weekend. This is the one that everybody really wants to win. Yeah,
the victory lap 2, opportunity to wave at not just our fans, but the biggest fans, the marshals on the corners.
Well, they're the ones who put in all the hard work for us. If we didn't have marshals, we wouldn't be able to race, right? So we got to thank them all the time. Obviously, you know, waving to the camera crew and everybody else that's out there. So hopefully everybody back home is able to cheer for him. That's out in Nova Scotia is able to cheer for Bailey right now as well. And great we were able to put this together, and you know, hopefully we're going to have this for many more years to come.
Yeah, that would be great.
And we'll be coming up again pretty soon here with, I think it's the Twins races after this. We got the Twins Cup and the ZX4R Cup. It'll be coming up after this. So we're going to come, we're going to be kicking up the full results here on the screen. So Bailey Ives takes the win. Excellent lap times again at a 27.6. And then Nolan Eady in second place. And Corey Campbell in third place. Jeremy Lazur in fourth with Lachlan Alexander in fifth. And then we got Guy Grandbois in sixth place, and then Julia Kranz working her way back up from last place, starting on the grid due to some qualifying issues, worked her way back up to seventh. So again, that'll probably give a good battle for the championship for third place. And then, as we know, that Alexi Baudouin did not finish that race, has huge ramifications to the championship. That he came into this race leading by 5 points, and he's not leading it now.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. We'll definitely have to check in on him and see if he can make the Superbike race as well, the amateur Superbike race later today.
Well, I'm sure he'll do everything he can, right? He does have 2 bikes there, right? So maybe they can swap some parts back and forth. Hopefully it's not too damaged. Hopefully he's okay.
Yes.
First off, or, you know, we didn't see him in the background if he's okay. But, you know, hopefully he was okay, and, you know, hopefully he can get back this afternoon after the, I guess it's Pro Superbike race. There'll be the amateur Superbike race after, so.
Excellent. We'd like to give a huge shout out to all of our live stream sponsors here: Brooklyn Cycle, Economy Lube, Godric Toyota, Dion Custom Carpentry, and Hindle. We cannot be able to do this without them. Huge thank you to all of them to make this live stream possible. Grand Bend was excellent. Mostport was a whole other beast entirely. So thank you so much to all of them.
Yeah, unbelievable support from those guys. You know, they've been around for a long time. When you look at some of the names of what those people are.
Sorry, it's Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and I just clued in on it. Old school.
No, it's you know, that those guys that are sponsoring us to do this live TV, can't say thanks enough to them. You know, they understood what this means to the series, to the racers doing this. The crew put together a ton of work to make this happen. So glad they're on board with us. Hopefully they're on board again next year to do this, and you know, we're just going to make this thing better and the series better year over year. And, you know, aside from that, we'll get set up for the next race here. We'll do some stuff behind the scenes, and we'll come back to you guys soon, and we'll take a short break. We'll be back soon. And welcome back to Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship, live on YouTube here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Andrew Nelson alongside Stacy Nesbitt. Gone through a couple races today. We got another good one coming.
Yes.
2 different classes in this upcoming race. So we've got the Importations T-Boat Twins Cup.
Yep.
And the Scorpion EXO ZX4R Cup. They're on the track at the same time. 2 different bikes, 2 different classes. Just separated by a little bit of gap on the starting grid.
You'll see it when they roll up. There's about 3 rows in between them, so they launch at the same time, but they're separated that way.
Yeah, and this is a good support class, right? We got old veteran pros in the twins class. We got some young kids kind of coming up. It's a good stepping stone before they go into super sport. The Scorpion EXO class as well. They're all on the exact same bike, which is kind of cool, right? They're all on the ZX4R bike. One guy's been dominating the class, which is Jared Walker. You know, he's been doing good, as you can kind of see him on the screen there, number 94 in the middle.
Well, what's cool with this class is we actually have a few more people joining for CTMP. They've come out. We have a decent grid for these guys this race. JP and Jacob are going to have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, it's nice to see more bikes on the grid for this one. I mean, obviously everybody wants to come to this track and show what they can do at this place, as it is an ultra fun place to go and ride. And yeah, having 2 or 3 extra bikes on the grid in that class is great. We have the same thing honestly in twins as well, right? We got 3 solid rows there in the twins class. Almost 3 full rows in the ZX4 class as well, as the fans are just kicking back, ready to go for the racing here. As this one's a pretty exciting one. I think in the twins race we've definitely seen JP Tash with the number 1 plate, champion from last year, continue this year. He won the championship at the last round in Grand Bend as well.
Yes.
He kind of carried that momentum. He brought some new sponsorship to this round as well for him and his team. And but the other guys that are kind of fighting for second place in that championship and on the track, they got their work to do to catch up to JP, but it should make some great racing, right? We got some new guys at the front of the grid here that hadn't been on the front of the grid in the twins class. So we look through the warm-up here. Yep. We got, as you see on the camera there, Bronte Verbeek is back from out west. She had a really terrible accident actually in this race at the opening round at Shannonville Motorsport Park, and really nice to see her back on the R7. Yamaha Canada really helped her out to kind of get back to this round as well.
Also back is Nicholas Kranz after a pretty big crash in Shuby out east.
Yeah, so it's good that everybody kind of not good they had accidents, but good that they're back, and hopefully end the season off right to lead them off into a good off season, as you and I could hear the thunder of these twins roaring down the back straightaway here. Yep. Through the forest. It sounds great, actually. It sounds really nice in my headset. It sounds really nice
for the fans.
For the fans as well, as they kind of get their sightseeing done here and get those tires up to temperature, as they're going to be rolling in the grid positions here very soon.
One person you might notice who's been a series regular is missing is Louis Rafa. Unfortunately, he had a spill in Thursday's practice, so he's not making the lineup. He's doing okay, but Louis is currently sitting in second for the championship points, so we might see Gary pass that this weekend. Yeah,
brutally unfortunate for Louis. Just an absolute class guy. He's always run a really great program. Bikes look great. He's a great person to be around as well. Super disappointing for him, but we'll go through the grid here. So JP Taché qualified on first with a minute 30.4. Second place Nicholas Kranz, and then third place Gary McKinnon, the veteran out of Atlantic, Canada. On that number 9, that bright yellow bike, you cannot mistake who Gary is. And then Sebastian Silva, Cecil Montour, Bronte Verbeek, Justin Marshall, Pedro Sousa, and Pascal Bastien. And then you can see there's a little bit of a gap to all the green monsters in the back. That's the ZX4 Cup, which will be starting on pole position with Jared Walker. And then Ryan McGowan. Ryan McGowan's first time in the class. As we look here, it looks like Bronte Verbeek just trying to figure out where her grid position is. That little white dot beside her boot, just get her on that thing, and Marshals will walk off here, and they'll get the race started.
So Ryan McGowan there in second, Jacob Black in third, Mackenzie Wheel lining up as well in fourth, Jean-Pascal Schroeder. Oh, lights out.
Here we go. JP with a great launch again. A little bit slower start there from Nicholas Kranz, but Gary also had a great start, as Gary just jumps up in a second, and a really great start from Bronte Verbeek, and actually Justin Marshall as well. Justin Marshall up in a fourth place. Unbelievable start from Justin, starting back on the third row, back at seventh place.
Justin has fantastic launches. He's usually up there in the first couple of corners, but JP showing the skill as he just takes the whole shot and he's starting to run his race.
Well, and JP, long ago, but not that long ago, was a solid pro Superbike racer as well, showing his skills of what he's doing here. And this is what the guys got to go and chase, as Gary McKinnon on that bright yellow Aprilia that he's got, number 9. Also a long-time veteran, fast Superbike racer in the 80s, showing what these guys can actually do around here. And I'm sure Gary's thinking, I do not want to let JP get away on the drafting on the back straightaway. As Nicholas Kranz just makes a great pass back up inside Justin Marshall into 5B as they launch these bikes down the straightaway, and Bronte Verbeek on that R7 trying to pull out of the draft already on Justin Marshall.
Honestly, so cool to have gotten to ride with Gary McKinnon on the track. Again, we're talking about the East Coast riders. Gary always has a smile, always happy to help people on the track, and it's so cool to see him out there. We talk about age gaps, right? We have some young teenagers out on the field. Gary's mid-70s, still rocking it. He's taking it to JP here. Yeah,
it's so impressive, what Gary's done, but he was a top racer in his day, and the guy, you just don't lose the speed when you're running with it, right? And he's picked it up, as we see, JP's already pulled a pretty solid gap here on Gary, and then, Gary's got a little bit of a gap on Bronte, but Bronte's in 3rd place, right? This is, I think, her first time here or second time here. She didn't ride very much last year, and awesome ride for Bronte. She's been working a lot through the summer after her injury to get kind of back into, get her body back into shape, dial the bike in a little bit more in order to go and compete against these Aprilias that are basically race-built, purpose bikes. Yeah. Yeah, you can see here, this is the battle for 3rd and 4th, as that's 4th place there. Nicholas Kranz on the Aprilia trying to hunt down Bronte Verbeek, and Gary's just kind of watching JP kind of walk away with it here a little bit as they work their way up into Moss's corner and shoot down the long straightaway here. I've never ridden a twins bike here or this engine size around here. I knew what it was like on a Superbike, and that back straightaway goes by in a flash on the Superbike. I'd imagine it feels like it takes just a scotch longer on these bikes, but
maybe a little bit, but they're still running very hard. I think it's a 90 horsepower limit for the twins class.
Yeah, and you'd kind of expect a little bit more drafting here, similar to what you see at Daytona, but obviously JP was able to put his head down almost immediately and pull a huge gap, knowing that he didn't want anybody in his draft at all. And probably the same thing as Gary. There was a bit of a gap, right? These guys were the fastest in qualifying by a pretty substantial a substantial number here as they come up across the line. We'll see what their first flying lap times were as they cross the line here, with JP doing a 31.2 and Gary doing a 31.4. So for JP, that's off a little bit of what he did in qualifying, about 0.8 of a second. But for Gary, that's actually half a second faster than he went in qualifying. And for Bronte, it's actually about 2 seconds slower than she went in qualifying. So it's a little bit off all over the place right now. I think maybe just kind of getting settled in, letting the excitement of the big first race of the weekend for these guys get them settled into a position and shake off the cobwebs, because it's been kind of a long morning as we had a lot of delays. They did not get to ride in practice this morning either.
True.
Bronte went out this morning. It was wet. She only did a couple laps in the wet session, but nobody else rode. So this is actually the first time that all of these riders are on the track today, because the track session this morning was not good.
So just also for the ZXR Cup, Jared's out in first for them, 9th overall right now, and then Jacob Black is running in second with Ryan in third. Again, that's 9, 10, 11 overall, but for their class, it's first, second, third. Yeah,
and they're all pretty close, right? Jared just did a 34.3 there on his bike. But as we take a look, this is the 3rd, 4th, 5th battle, right? With looks like Nicholas Kranz has made his way back past Bronte Verbeek, and Bronte's going to take a look here off the back straightaway, which is a super high-speed section to try to make a late break maneuver. And
excellent. Sebastian Silva is just at the tail end of that too.
Yeah, so you know what? This is an opportunity for Bronte. Bronte was mentioning earlier that her tracks that she rides at, there's no drafting opportunities. There's no fast tracks out in Edmonton that have the long straightaway like this, or at RMM, and she didn't really understand what it meant to be in the draft or how to body position. So she's going to get the first taste of this here, as to say, okay, well, that's what that draft actually feels like. Here's where I need to put my bike. So she's going to be absolutely hungry to get this first podium for her and look for this 3rd place this year, and not want to let Nicholas Kranz get away from this at all.
Well, Sebastian Silva's also done fantastic this year. His progression on the twins bike has been really, really good to watch. Sebastian started with more the lightweight bikes, and he made the transition up to the twins, and he was finding it a little bit difficult to gel with that bike. But I really have to shout him out. He has really worked hard. He's put in the work off the track too to study, try to work on his body position, and it's really starting to show. His confidence is coming out, and he is going to be able to put his head down and catch back up to Bronte and Nicholas. Who's our first? Cecil's there too, so shout out to Cecil Montour. He's a SOAR regular, and we saw him for the first time in Grand Bend, his home track. He did pretty well, and he's come out to CTMP here, and he's going to catch back up to them. If they're not drafting properly, Cecil has the opportunity to get right back up to them.
Yeah, wicked battle for third, but I'm just noticing here, you and I can stand on top of the trailer, I'm noticing that Gary McKinnon has closed the gap completely onto JP Tash, so hopefully we're able to kind of go back to JP in the battle for first place, because it looks like JP and Gary are all over each other there. So, you know, right there, just as we were talking about it, actually, you know, you could definitely see Gary close up a huge gap there. He went 9/10 of a second faster as Gary's just sizing him up now. So we got a great race here for the lead. Definitely thought JP was going to cascade off into the sunset on this one, but Gary definitely put his head down, just wondering if JP might have made a little bit of a mistake, but I don't think he did, because that lap time that JP did is basically what he's been doing all race and for qualifying. Gary must have just absolutely put his head down and has found an extra gear here somewhere as he's bobbing and weaving all over the place, trying to figure out, you know, what does the draft feel like. Is going a little wide in turn 4 never feels good as the front end starts to drift away from you. And he's going to try to size him up here, start a little bit wider entry as JP's just offline a little bit. And it looks like Gary got a great drive, and we'll see what this draft does here. You know, first time to really see a draft with these twins bikes down this long straightaway.
Yeah, Gary ran a full second a lap faster than JP on that last lap. So maybe he did make a mistake. Maybe he doesn't know Gary's right there. Who knows?
Yeah,
oh, this is close.
It looks like Gary's bikes maybe not quite have the top end of what JP does. You saw him pull up from the draft there and wasn't able to work his way past him there. So he was also taking the long way around JP. So he might have to take a look at where I'm going to try to pass JP, if it's going to have to be earlier in the lap, to not really rely on the draft to go by him. As you know, definitely you and I, again, we can see here the battle for third place is still raging, you know, amongst 4 riders as well. But you know, this race here with JP and Gary, they were about 2/10 apart on that last lap. So I think these guys at the lead have just kind of settled themselves in. First and second, Gary sizing up JP. You know, where can I go? Maybe a dive bomb into turn 3, which we do see in a lot of corners, but just definitely a bit too much of a gap here for JP to want to take, or for Gary, sorry, to take a look going up the inside of JP. Nice, big, long, swooping lines, trying to carry the cornering speed as best as possible through turn 3 as they shoot down the very, very fast chute between turns 3 and 4.
It's kind of interesting as well. I don't find that Gary and JP, I mean, that was a terrible shot. I was about to say they don't seem to deviate too differently from their lines, and then they proved me wrong. But compared to last round, when we're watching Scott Rupert and JP battle, they had very different lines around this track. But these guys seem to have something a little bit similar. Now, Gary's having to deal with that front runner in front of him, right? So maybe he has to deviate the line, try to carry a bit more speed, see where he can make up.
Yeah, and just, you know, look at Gary here in the draft. This time he goes to the right side where he went to the left side last time, and he's going to be looking up the inside to see if he can do the outbreaking move. But it looks like, it looks like JP is still out front, was able to do a solid outbreak into Gary. And, you know, I think that when you go into the draft and you get close to the other rider as well, all of a sudden the air changes. You know, you don't hear the wind noise, you don't hear any of that other stuff, and then all of a sudden your bike starts to handle a little bit differently than it was if you were a little bit behind him as well. So maybe going into turn 4, you know, earlier where you saw him going a little bit wider, like you were mentioning, I think that's just because he was so close to him that all of a sudden you didn't have the wind slowing him down, and it pushed him a bit wider. And especially on these bikes, the wind makes a big difference if they get blown off the track or not blown off the track.
It does. The smaller the bike, the more that weight is going to be impacted by the wind, and depending on where the wind hits, right, we have a lot of elevation around this track, so sometimes you turn into turn 2 and get a gust of wind that pulls you way wide. Same thing with 4.
Yeah, and you can see here now these guys are clicking off, you know, quite quick lap times again, going back into the high minute 30s, and Gary's kind of again bobbing and weaving all over. But again, you'll see Gary going wide through here, and that just must be his line, right? He's kind of done it 3 laps in a row. He just seems to go a little bit wider through turn 4, but I think he's also losing a bit of time there. He's pushing out wide, not allowing to roll on the throttle down the hill through turn 4, up into 5 AB as these guys shoot out from 6, going down for the long drag race down the back straightaway again. I kind of would think that JP might start going a little bit more to the right-hand side when he's coming down, or his right-hand side down the track, just to make Gary have, a little more defensive, right? And it's not happening yet, but JP definitely looks like he's got his head down this lap, because he definitely heard Gary last lap. He's like, okay, I better pick up the pace here. So I'll be curious to see what JP's lap time is here, as we get a great drone shot of the last couple corners coming onto the front straightaway here in turn number 10.
I think this is about halfway, if I'm not mistaken, in the race.
Yeah, we've got, this is 7 laps to go now after that point, as JP just put in the fastest lap of the race at a minute 30.2, which is actually 0.2 of a second faster than he did in the qualifying results. So you could definitely tell JP had put his head down there after hearing Gary the lap previous to that and said, okay, I better put a bit of a gap here as you look at the bumpiness that's going on. But here we're battle for third, you know, back into the raging battle for third, as Nicholas and Bronte are going
Still
at this
at
after,
it.
yeah, and Bronte just did her fastest lap of the race on that last lap at a 32.2, which, you know, is again 0.4 of a second faster than she did in qualifying. So this one's going to go on for a little while, I think, here. You know, maybe 1 or 2 mistakes in the odd spot will then probably bring them a little bit closer. But Nicholas Kranz is definitely looking pretty good, as it looked like that Sebastian Silva ran real wide all the way through turn 3 there.
Just calling out the ZX4 Cups because I was curious about lap records, and Jared's nearly beaten his own lap record time on the Ninja Cup. The lap record is a 133.142, and his fastest time was a 133.183.
Yeah, so Jared's not going slow in the ZX4 Cup, that's for sure, and he's got a massive gap onto second place there, over top of Jacob Black, about 9 seconds difference. But you know, the on-track battle that's raging right now is this battle for third place. As Nicholas just seems to have pulled a little bit of a gap onto Bronte here. You know, maybe a slight little mistake, or maybe this is going to be Nicholas's fast lap here. Getting the bike set up and lean through this corner. You can definitely see that Bronte closed up a lot coming in off the brakes into turn 8. As now Gary McKinnon, you can see on the left side of the screen here, just throws down the fastest lap of the race at a 29.6. Closes right back up into 0.3 of a second on top of JP Tash. So as we go back here into third, Bronte's taking a look into turn 1 to see to make a pass. Great, just pull it. What a girl, Bronte. Great pass going into turn 1.
Very nice.
Super hard section of pass. Being able to get back on the throttle, making sure that Nicholas doesn't come back, as Nicholas is going to make a great dive back into turn 2. So excellent back and forth in these super high speed section of the track between turn 1 and 2.
These two have raced together before as well, so it's great to see. You can race that close, back and forth, and Sebastian and Cecil aren't that far behind. They're having a great battle as well. You know, sometimes that happens, right? The two of you are battling, you don't know about the two behind, and you let them catch up through your battling instead of running the race.
Well, definitely, and if they start battling, making those passes, that's going to bring Sebastian and Cecil right back into this one as well for a tighter battle, and maybe that'll close up the draft a little bit. You see Bronte had a big bump there going into 5A, kind of upset her chassis a little bit as they shoot back down the straightaway here, and we'll see what the horsepower differences are like here with Nicholas Kranz running that Aprilia RS660 and then Bronte on that Yamaha R7. So looks like Bronte's speed is just closing a little bit in the draft, making sure you stay there. So the bikes look pretty equal in the draft. I got to think the Aprilia looks just a bit faster for the way the rules are and stuff, but Bronte seems to be carrying tons of speed off the back straight. Nice wide exit, closes up.
Right up.
Yeah, closes up anything.
I
right?
have to say, she's tucked in very nicely in that, and really, really making that bubble work for her as small as she can. So that's the way to do it on a straight.
Yeah, so we got this just kind of closed the whole pack back up, as the kind of seesawing back and forth between third and fourth and fifth, as Bronte again goes for another great pass going into turn 1, and we'll see if Nicholas can do what he did the last lap, going for another pass into turn 2, which definitely looks like it's going to be possible.
Yeah, I mean, Sebastian's only about half a second behind them, which you can see visually it looks like a lot, but in reality it's maybe a minor mistake or a little bit of throttle on the exits. He'll be able to close that up as long as he puts his head down.
Well, in such a small difference, you make one little mistake on these bikes, it's hard to get it back, right? You just can't rely on the power. You got to keep the speed and the momentum going through the corner. So, tight pass. Bronte took a great look into the fastest corner here at turn 4 with fourth gear basically wide open on these bikes. They're not really shutting off. Ultra close to the front end there. Bronte's trying to get a downshift going so she can get a great drive down the back straightaway, knowing she's got to get, and she does.
Yeah, she does. So you can see that actually in the line. Nicholas is taking a much tighter line there through Moss's corner through 5, whereas Bronte, you see her go way wide. So she can straight line the back straight, get as much drive as you can starting on that straight. That's the way to do it. Maybe Mick is going a little more defensive, knowing she's there.
Definitely possible, right? Definitely possible. Maybe just learning, you know, Nicholas got to go where he's got to go. But, you know, just looking at what Bronte was doing there on back straight, she's got to go to more to the right side of the track, or her right side of the track, not the left side. That's a long way around there. Or get right in tight in the draft, right? Rub some elbows as you're going by. So this will be something she'll probably take home tonight and take a look at. But, you know, then you can also see Cecil here making just a great pass on the exit of the final corner on Sebastian, because Sebastian just kind of ran a little bit hot, and Cecil taking another great look up inside of turn 1.
They're right there. We got about 4 laps to go now. So, I mean, it's Seb and Cecil kind of need to work together to get back up there. Now is not the time for them to start swapping paint. They need to just get back up and then have the 4-way battle. Get into that draft, get closer. Otherwise, they're going to help Nicholas and Bronte make the gap. They're right there.
Well, and I got to think they're not really thinking about their battle. They're thinking about trying to catch the 2 in front of them as well. So you can see a lot of different wide swooping lines here, and who's going to kind of get set up to carry the momentum through 4 and into 5. And as we've seen, Bronte's been pretty fast coming up into 5A and 5B, getting set up with a little bit different lines. So let's see if Bronte learned anything than she had on the last lap, where she goes down the straightaway.
Oh, Cecil! I mean, good job, but that was close. So this is the problem with going wide, right? You're leaving the door wide open to be undercut, even if it's the faster drive.
Absolutely, but looks like Bronte's doing the right thing this time. Much tighter in the draft. Hopefully she pulls a little bit to the right as they go off the back straightaway, because you know, it looked like she'd been stronger the whole time, but going to the left here, maybe Nicholas is understanding that there's a rider right behind him and just blocking the line a little bit on Bronte. And at the same time, Nicholas is running a great race here, right? He's just kind of keeping right out in front and making sure that there's, you know, no real easy area that Bronte can just kind of get by. You know, he's blocking a lot of the great lines, and Nicholas is doing an excellent job.
Yes, this has been a fantastic race the whole way through. Oh, looking to the inside, and I don't know, Nicholas might have learned from the last time. Not gonna let you go up the inside again.
Yeah, and just out of the screenshot, looked like Sebastian ran way wide. Sorry again, and. But yeah, I think you're right. You know, Nicholas probably learned, hey, I'm tired of getting past into turn 1. I got to do something a little bit differently. And now you can see Bronte's trying to change her line going into turn 3 a little bit. Oh, running just a bit wide, coming a little bit later on the brakes, it looked like, than Nicholas. And we'll see who kind of gets the drive here. But I'm sure Bronte's just itching to make another pass. I got to believe she understands it's got to be a bit earlier than going down the back straightaway, knowing that she just doesn't seem to have the raw horsepower to get down and draft past Nicholas. So a pass is going to have to come a bit earlier here, as she again just drifts a little bit wide as she gets ready to set up a really strong drive and exit out of this corner.
It looks like we're about to come up on a back marker too, so that could play into the strategy. Oh no, that was good of him.
Yeah, looking back, making sure, putting the hand up, getting out of the way, letting the battle rage on, which is excellent. And you know, you can see the blue flags waving there. So great job by that rider and the marshal crew to kind of let them know where they're going, as we can hear these bikes roaring down the straightaway once again.
I think that's Rob left.
Bronte's looking for an outside pass, maybe outside inside.
Now that is a tricky but fantastic passing area. We see this with the pros. They'll use 9 as an opportunity, right? Go around the outside in 8, and you've got the line to flick over.
And it shocks people, right? It shocks people when you do that. They don't ever expect a pass between, you know, the very fast 8 going into turn 9, as we're down to 2 laps to go. And you know, for the guys that are watching on TV, you know, look at the front 2 here, first and second. JP and Gary keep running in the low 30s. We got Nicholas running in the 32s, but JP and Gary McKinnon are still only 3/10 apart here as well. So there's a great battle happening for the lead and for the win here as well.
This has been some excellent riding from the twins class. They're definitely, it's such a good development class. It's such a good support class to the series. This is a great way to have different machinery battling against each other, learning racecraft, learning different tracks. I love the lightweight for that as well, but with the twins and with the ZXR, you've got that little bit more horsepower. So your jump up to something like the super sport bikes isn't as extreme.
Yeah, it's a good bridge between it, right? And they kind of learn a little bit more racecraft into something like this as well, as we're, you know, I can just kind of see JP and Gary going on to the front straightaway now, as they think they're lining up for the last lap here, as JP's just ripping here. Let's see what kind of lap times he did as they're coming into the last lap here. Last lap flag is out, so minute 30.8 for JP, minute 30.3. There's 0.7 of a second. Pretty big gap for Gary to close up, but I mean, hey, that one lap he closed up over a second earlier in the race as well. So let's see if Gary's able to put his head down, but this is a pretty big gap on these twin bikes to close up at the speed that these guys are going at.
and I will mention, we've had some very bizarre weather today, but the humidity is high. 14 laps, pushing that hard, racing with each other. It gets hot.
It's sticky. Like, it's very, very sticky. I'm kind of glad I'm not in the suit anymore. I mean, as much as I'd love to be racing here, I'm glad I'm not in the suit anymore. But yeah, it's hot and sticky. These guys are going to feel this after this race for sure. And especially Gary, you know, he said the guy's 70 plus years old. So obviously keeping himself in a great condition, as well as JP's definitely put his head down here on this one, saying, okay, Gary, come catch me, right? And JP's using the draft here of one of those Ninja ZX4Rs as the yellow flag comes out to him, and JP's probably got to understand that he's just going to be walking this one home, and maybe Gary just said, hey, this isn't my battle now for the last race, let's just bring it home, understanding that maybe he's got a chance to catch Louis for second place in the championship.
Yes. I'm not sure if he's done enough to pass that for today, but I think if he does this again tomorrow, he'll probably clinch that second spot. But JP's coming around for that last lap.
Flag to flag, little power wheelie on the RS 660. Excellent, JP, and congrats to Gary McKinnon on an excellent second place. Really curious, you know, you and I can hear the third place battle here. Let's just take a look what it looks like coming off the trailer, off the back straightaway, which
excellent. So
Nicholas still there. Bronte all over Nicholas. Is Bronte going to look for the pass up the inside?
Oh, go for it, girl. Come on. Yes.
Great pass, Bronte. Great pass. Keep it in. Nicholas coming back up the inside.
Oh, well done.
Unbelievable finish.
Very smart.
And she's celebrating before she crossed the finish line. Congratulations, Bronte Verbeek, on your first podium this year. It's got to feel great after a big injury at Shannonville earlier this year. And great result for Yema on that R7 to make the pass. You could tell she's been sizing that up all race, different locations of where to pass. And
so that's Justin Marshall there. He's finishing 8th. But here we go. That's Jared Walker. That's who we were looking for. He's our leader for the ZX4 Cup. I think he's coming around for that checkered flag.
Yeah, and Jared in this class has been the man, right? Like nobody's ever really kind of challenged him. This is nothing new to see him win this race. So he's been fast on a bunch of the bikes that he's been racing in these different classes. So you know, huge gap to him, and obviously, you know, fun for him, fun class for him. I think that as other riders kind of grow up and learn, that he's setting the benchmark for this type of class.
Yes, and honestly, both Walker brothers, Cam's not racing anymore, but both of them have always been so quick on these bikes, and it's so great that Jared's coming back out to do this, and he's been helping them, right? He's helping some of the newer riders too with the different classes, and they're such a great family. I'm glad they're still in the pits, in the paddock.
Yeah, it's great to have around those guys like that as well. And you know, one thing that I'm just looking on the side here is, as we kind of thought, JP, he put his fastest lap of the race on the last lap at a 29.7.
There you go.
Unbelievable, right? And kind of broke Gary's back and said, "Hey, buddy, this is my championship. This is why I got a #1 plate on my bike.
Yeah.
Right? This is what I'm going to do."
Yeah.
So, you know, congratulations to JP. You know, he's obviously happy to celebrate. He had some new sponsors come on board. And, you know, great to see that. He loves winning. Great opportunity for him and his team and his family. So nice to see. Great little power wheelie. But, hey, man, don't forget to stop.
Oh, he won't.
Get your checkered flag, man.
The victory lap is something that it's a coveted thing, right? Not everywhere does the victory lap. So having that time, you get out, you get the flag, you get that time to wave to everybody, which, by the way, not all the race series either have the marshals come to the edge of the track and celebrate with you. It's such a beautiful Canadian thing to see everybody so close, so excited and enthusiastic about the racing and the riding they saw.
Well, absolutely. And I hope Jared goes and picks up his checkered flag as well for his own class. And you're totally right. You know, in Canada, we're one of the only national series championships that still has guys grabbing the checkered flag and go around.
Yeah.
You don't see it really at any of the Moto America stuff. You don't see it in World Superbike. Marshals may go on the track and celebrate them, but nobody's taking the checkered flag around, which I think this is what it's all about. Thanking the fans, and the fans giving a chance to, you know, put their hands together for what the racers just did out on the track as well. So it's a great thing, and honestly, I hope it never goes away. There's no better feeling than it. I think some guys probably prefer that than just immediately going in the pits. Now he can cool down, get a little bit of breeze across his chest.
Yes, and honestly, as you know, holding that checkered flag, doing that victory lap, it's a pretty good feeling.
It's an excellent feeling.
Here we go, Jared.
It's an excellent feeling. As you know, Jared knows here very well what it feels like. First, you put it in the boot to make sure you can get off the line and don't stall the bike, obviously. But it's a great feeling. Like, there is really nothing.
Don't crash with it either.
Yeah, don't crash with it either, right? Or don't get the flag stuck in the chain in the tire or whatever it's going to be. But
oh, I've lost the flag. I've done that.
Oh,
Try
boy.
not to do it. Either leave it in the boot or have a really good grip on it.
Yeah. Well, and at this track too, when you take that flag out, it is windy. It is hard to hold on.
heavy.
You see, he's got to put it across his shoulder to hold on to it. So, hey, another great race here again with the twins race.
There we go.
You know, standing up, celebrating with the fans. We can't see it here from the camera, but there are a ton of fans lining this track right now, all around the section that he's in between, you know, turn 2, 3, and 4. But yeah, we just had another great race, right? Like this was a good one. You know, the amateur super sport was quite good. The craziness of the pro super sport, but this was a true battle. First and second between JP and Gary. Excellent race, an awesome race for third place with Bronte making that fantastic pass in a very tough area that you were talking about earlier.
Yes, and shout out to Nicholas as well. That he had a fender off the whole time. Sebastian Silva worked his way back up, battling with Cecil Montour all the way through it. Oh, Cecil got Sebastian to the line there, actually. So this is why the live stream is so important. If you're not here to see it, you miss this. And it's some of the best racing you will see all day. So make sure you turn in, because I think lightweight is the end of the day. We got
Lightweight's
two.
in the days, yeah. So coming up after this, we got the Pro Superbike race, which is obviously the big one that we're all kind of waiting for. And then after that, we've got the amateur superbike, and then we've got the lightweight super sport race, which that will be, I think, a barn burner when you're around this track and the way that those ones work as well. So
good.
Lot more racing to look forward to throughout the day, and you know, we'll get ready for the next bunch that are exciting here for the rest one. I think the Superbike one is going to be a big one.
Excellent. Congratulations again to both the winners for today.
And you know, we'll take a look here at the results coming up. So to run through the order, obviously first place and second place, JP Tash, and then Gary McKinnon, Bronte Verbeek in third place, rounding out the podium with an excellent race between Bronte, Nicholas Kranz, Cecil Montour, and Sebastian Silva.
Yep.
And then Pascal Bastien finishing in seventh with Jared Walker in the Ninja ZX4 Cup, taking the win, and actually in second place in that class would be Jacob Black. And then, as we mentioned earlier, JP Schroeder finishing in third place. So not sure what that does for the championship. I know that there was an opportunity for Jared Walker to walk away with the championship after this one, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll be some championship considerations in there for Jared on this one. We'll see what the points kind of look like afterwards. But
I don't think he clinched it today, but if he does it again tomorrow, he has it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we'll be getting set up here pretty soon for the Pro Superbike race coming shortly. Hang tight. We'll be back soon for a lot of exciting racing. The fast guys on the track, 300 kilometers an hour. We'll see you guys again soon.
And welcome back, everyone, here to the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Obviously, coming up to the big race here, the GP Bike-sponsored Superbike race up next here on the grid. We're just waiting here to fight off a little of this inclement weather here that we got here. It's not going to happen here, I don't think. I think the clouds are just going to kill the sun. A little bit of shade, a little bit of a breeze for us here, Andrew. Make it a little bit more comfortable up here on the production trailer.
Well, I hope these clouds stay away, but it doesn't look good. There's a lot of storms happening on the radar around here, so the guys are just on the grid right now. They're getting ready to go out, get ready for the warm-up laps pretty soon off the pro grid from where they did the rollout. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely see those clouds on TV. That it doesn't look good. So maybe, hopefully we can get this race started quick. They can get in at least the halfway before it rains, like we saw in the Pro Supersport race before, and get away from this weather. But I'm sure we're going to start feeling drops pretty soon, and then these guys will have to kind of panic. But we'll let these guys go out for the warm-up lap.
As we pan up here, the warm-up lap here, obviously it's going to be an important thing, like we factored into the Supersport race. That first half of the race is going to be ever so important, because a lot of the guys are going to be fighting obviously for the front very early, because you know what happens after the halfway mark.
Well, that's right. So starting here with Ben Young on pole, qualifying at a minute 20.5. Only 0.2 off of his outright lap record that he's ever done here. Andrew Van Winkle in second place at a 22.2, and then David McKay at a 22.4, Sultan Frass at a 22.8. So those 2, 3, 4 positions, we're gonna have probably a pretty good battle. Ben's looking very comfortable all weekend. A little bit of a big gap here.
And the comfort level of Ben Young is obviously evident here as we watch as the warm-ups come out through here. Let's go through the starting grids here.
So in fifth place was Alex Michel with a 23.8, and then Cole Alexander, first time on a Superbike. Ben Young and his Von Dollers Honda being able to help him out and taking a young guy under his wing. Qualified 6th. What an impressive qualifying for Cole Alexander.
What a great opportunity for Cole as well. And on the third row here in 7th place, we've got Maverick Sear, and unfortunately get off here at the end of the Supersport race, so it's good to see Maverick back here. Obviously in the 8th place here in the middle of row number 3, Sebastian Tremblay. Again, a great Supersport run there as we got into the 9th of Thomas Kazis. He's here again on the third row.
Yeah, and then Matt Simpson, who also had a crash in the Supersport race. Well, hopefully he's able to make it out for this. Then Julian Lafortune, Ernest Bernhardt on his Yamaha R1. Michael Sutherland in 13th, Phil DeGamo Blanchette in 14th, and then Brad McRae riding his R6 in 15th.
Mark Labrogia, and then obviously into Chase Westmoreland. Chase Westmoreland in the middle of row number 6, and then into Ryan McGowan there. He's on the outside there in 18th overall in the 6th row.
And I think Spencer Check-in is going to be kind of the last guy to round this out in 19th place. There's a couple guys behind him, but I don't know if they're going to be making the grid this time as we see the bike starting to roll in. So like you mentioned earlier, man, the first couple laps of this race and up to the halfway point, I think it's going to be the race, right? If the rain does come in and it hits before the halfway point or just after the halfway point, this first half of the race is going to be ultra important for the results.
Here we are on the start-finish line here under starters' orders. Racers ready. Watch the light.
And we're off, and wow, Van Winkle was way off on that start, but Ben got a great start, as did David McKay. But Alex Michel coming from 5th place, already up in his second, trying to push Ben off the track a little bit as Ben rides around the outside to keep it going, and Van Winkle with looking to go up the inside of Michel into turn 2.
Yeah, Zoltan Frass there in the big yellow banana. He's obviously sitting back there. It looks like he's in 5th place right now, comfortable as he is. And looking again at Cole Alexander. Hopefully he's going to be able to make up some time there. Obviously the start he didn't want either, but definitely making his way up in the top 6.
For sure, and this is something we've kind of seen all year with Ben maybe not getting the best of starts and David McKay always getting a great start, and obviously Ben just with a great pass up inside turn 4, carrying more speed. But Ben understands he has the speed and the pace to kind of walk away from these guys, not wanting to waste any time and go pull a bit of a gap, as Van Winkle's already closed up pretty quick on David McKay after having a terrible start. And it's been these same 3 guys here on the same 3 Hondas always leading pretty much every race or being at the front of every race, minus Jordan Zoke, who's not here with us this weekend. But the Hondas are out leading like they have been all year with Ben and Dave McKay and now Andrew Van Winkle.
And look at Van Winkle still trying to reel in the back of McKay as they come back here out onto the front straightaway as they're making back the left-hander now back into the right-hander, and a great run there as McKay's trying to look like he's blocking off of Van Winkle, but the top 3 are definitely pulled on the field for sure.
I got a chance to sit with these guys after their qualifying session yesterday, and they're going, oh my God, where am I going to find a 2.5 seconds to catch Ben? But there's no better way to learn than right now, being able to sit behind Ben, see what his lines are doing, see how he's changing the angle of the corners. As you can see, there's just such a wide difference of how wide these guys are going in the corner, where they're turning in. Hopefully they got to go to work here from the master around this track for many, many years in Bend.
And you'll see Van Winkle drop that right leg off there as he comes back in the top of turn 3, now back underneath the Chevrolet bridge as they go back down into 4, now back up into the Moss's corner area there. And again, an obvious and excellent place to pass as you'll see McKay now being pressured by Van Winkle.
Van Winkle runs it in super tight, excellent late braking pass. He's always felt comfortable on the brakes going in. It looks great. You know, very comfortable on a Superbike doing late brake passing like that. So he's going to work here. He's going to try to catch up to Ben after that start and see as these guys are banging through 3rd, 4th, 5th gear, and now just clicking in a 6th gear all the way down just before they grab the brakes at the Canadian Tire Bridge, up to about 305 kilometers an hour is what these guys were doing.
Throwing real speed down there. Obviously, David McKay in that Snow City Honda trying to hold on to the back of Van Winkle. How important is it for McKay to at least keep Van Winkle within her arm's reach and not let him run away? It looks like Ben's trying to do the same thing.
Well, I think it's hugely important here with the way the draft works and stuff. As soon as you kind of lose that, it's hard to kind of catch back up. So McKay's going to keep his head down, obviously, right? He wants to win the race. So he's going to do everything he can for Van Winkle. But also Van Winkle is going to keep his head down trying to push for Ben. And I can definitely see that Van Winkle's already changing his lines a little bit to match a little bit more and mirror what Ben is doing, you know, trying to understand where the fast lines actually are. You can see those patches through turn 2 that are just so bumpy and throwing these guys way off line of normal. And the late braking Van Winkle throws his foot out again. Van
Winkle, that Rossi style, throw the leg out just to make sure he sets out the bike as best he can for the right-hander. And then, of course, McKay, obviously smooth as silk as always, and I had the benefit of watching McKay through the Source Series. But let me tell you, that start that he had was amazing. But Van Winkle, from the not really the best start that he's had all year, is obviously making some great times up and really trying to reel in Ben as they come around Moss's.
Yeah, and you can see like Ben's probably controlling the pace, right? He runs about a second a lap faster than what this is on kind of a normal lap. He's doing mid-21s right now. Van Winkle did a 21.8, which is actually faster than he did by 4/10 in qualifying. So this is very, very fast for Van Winkle. It's a little bit more of a controlled pace for Ben. So maybe this is just keeping Van Winkle in tune. Hey, what do I got to do? There's little gaps here. You can't just make it up in one corner on this track. It's impossible.
An amazing track layout for sure, and obviously the speeds are the fastest ones here in Canada for sure. As you watch here in the backfields, again, Van Winkle just trying to get tucked into the bubble and trying to make sure he's as small as possible as he comes across the front straight. Now into turn number 1.
And getting on the gas early, there's a big bump on the exit there, especially as you get a little closer to the curb, and keeping the bike from bucking and weaving as you go all the way through. As you can, you know, if you zoom in real tight, you can definitely see these bikes. The front end is chopping and bouncing at the top of turn 2 all the way through turn 2, and then hard on the brakes as Van Winkle runs real wide coming out of turn 2, and he's kind of cutting himself off a little bit, right? Like you got to piece these corners together on the entry, the mid, and the exit of the corner. And if you do a little bit offline a bit, and you know, we'll see if he's able to kind of close up or just maintain this gap, or keep the gap on David McKay as well, as they're all just kind of finding the zone in which they're comfortable right now.
Now back into the Moss's corner. Now back on the runway or the back straight one more time. We'll see if Van Winkle can buckle in one more bubble. It's had to get into his bubble there, as obviously Honda is leading there. Quite really the Van Dolder's home Honda from Ben Young out front, and he is definitely pulling away as comfortable as he is here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, and you can kind of maybe just see the odd drop. I mean, I'm feeling where we are on the top of the trailer, I can feel the odd drop landing on me here. So who knows what these guys got on their windscreen. You know, talking about those clouds that are above us, there's definitely the odd smattering of raindrop here. So that changes the confidence and what kind of grip level there are. And we'll see the pace. And as you can definitely see, Ben Young running at 23.0, going 1.5 seconds slower than he did the lap before. So there's no doubt something on the track that Ben does not like, which has got to be a little bit of raindrops like we saw in the Pro Supersport race.
As you see Ben come over the top of 2, he's got his right leg off. You see him drifting his right leg off. Not sure if that's an indication of possibly the conditions he's not happy with. He's not letting anything going to be impeding him, of course. But
that's got to be exactly what it is. He's probably saying, hey, there's too many raindrops out here. Hopefully in that, you know, the marshals and everybody can kind of signal saying, like, we got too much rain for what these big, powerful Superbikes can do around here on slick tires. So we'll see what the marshals decide. And
as it looks like Van Winkle and McKay both concurred, and they both threw a leg out there just to make sure that everyone knows, hey, let's be safe about this. Let's not have everybody throw anything away that they don't have to. Of course, utmost respect for each other on this field as well. They're all just kind of calming down. The leader, Ben Young, making sure that everyone knows that, you know what, boys, let's just regroup, recap, and then we'll see exactly what we can do when we get back inside the pit.
Yeah, and one of the things that's different here too on the on this track is, like, because the track is so big, when you get a red flag, you're normally supposed to just kind of continue all the way around. But at this track, they actually want you to stop at the next marshal station. But you can see the guys kind of waving them forward, saying that it's not actually a crash that's causing the red flag; it's due to the rain. So obviously a great call here by the CSBK crew to know to pull it, listen to the guy with the #1 plate on his bike to understand that the conditions are a little too dangerous for the big powerful Superbikes with slicks on around this track. So, you know, great call by those guys, and now they'll do some homework, right? And then hopefully the series is able to understand that these clouds can go away and, you know, get the track dried up, or it just rains and let's go to rain racing.
And in rain racing, it would be a lot easier to have one solid, continuous, downpour throughout the entire track than have, the back of 5 maybe have a little bit of rain on it. The front straight be nice and dry. It's obviously going to be a lot in everyone's best interest to have a full rain or a full dry track for sure.
Well, and because the track is so big here, you could be dry in one spot, sunny, and then the other section in the back could be an absolute monsoon. So you never know what you get here. It makes it very, very challenging for the staff of the series to know when it's safe to put the guys out. And then on top of that, it makes it hard for the racers to know, hey, what do I got to do for bike setup?
Absolutely.
Rain setup, rain tires,
and
no rain tires.
And in the North American series, this is obviously one of the best series here in North America. These guys are utmost. The safety is obviously key for the riders as well, but they want to make sure that the racers have a great race as well. They want to make sure that they have fun and enjoy themselves, of course, as put on a great show for the spectators, but safety is of utmost importance and the #1 factor.
Well, of course, it always should be, right? If without racers, you don't have a series, you don't have a race for these fans to come to. So always watching the safety of the racers, and especially at such a fast track like we keep talking about, and I won't stop talking about all this weekend, is how fast this place actually is. But we also want to be able the series wants to give a show to the fans as well. So doing it safely, making sure that all the racers are good, as you and I right now are feeling way more raindrops on our heads.
Yep.
And this will probably change this. So typically what happens in this type of event, when we get rain in the middle of a race, we're only maybe 4 laps into this. We still have 14 more to go. So usually what happens on this is that we'll get a bit of a break here. They'll kind of get the lay of the land of the track to understand if there's going to be more rain or less rain. They'll look at some radar to understand if there's going to be more rain coming in. And then we usually give the racers about a 10-minute practice if it goes full wet. So you put your wets on, because these guys on the Superbikes have not ridden in the wet at all this weekend yet. So we'll give them about a 10-minute practice session if it does go to full wets. And then after that practice session, they'll get 5 minutes. That'll allow them to make a few changes to the bike, and then we'll be green flag after that. So we'll see. We'll wait for the call from the series as to what we're going to be doing soon. And up until that point, we'll go to a quick break, and then we'll come back hopefully with some better news.